Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Hi Josh.
Hey.
Hi everyone. Okay. Okay, let's start. Hi everyone. Yeah, have a look at the agenda and start. So last week, we had the Ceph Developer Summit. Yeah, just have a look at the other pad if you have any questions. Feel free to reach out. As we've discussed the other pad in CDS, I don't think it just makes sense to just repeat everything. Yeah, just get over what things were in the last week. So with Octopus, people are really starting to test Ceph ADM and finding issues, which is not a big surprise. Plus Sage being on leave, which means that I'm a bit overloaded right now with support and taking over the work that Sage did. Fortunately, Fridge volunteered to help planning QA runs, QA tests, which is a big help. Yeah. Then, what else? We would like to rename Drive Group as OSD spec. Is anyone against it? Any thoughts? So it is already renamed in the documentation because it's really not necessary to invent a new name Drive Group. What's left is actually renaming the Python class Drive Group with OSD spec. That's okay? Yes, no, maybe. No answer is supposed to be yes. OSI Replacement. Joshua, last week we wanted to discuss your OSI Replacement Google document. Maybe we can do that now. Joshua.
Sure, yeah. Discuss it in which fashion? Shall I go over it or what a concrete question?
We briefly explain what what's that's about. Any changes, anything that we have to really review?
I mean, the whole OSI replacement topic covers a lot of different features that are not necessarily exclusive for OSI replacement. So that is the whole preview thing that we have an open pull request for. And that is basically also OSI removal because it's shares like 99% of the code path. And then there is a lot of Ceph volume related things, especially about consistently recreating the same settings, so item potency for Ceph volume, and also availability detection of drives using Ceph volume. And I think, so if you scroll down the document, there are a lot of tracker issues. They're probably not even complete anymore, but there are a lot of new features / bug reports that I created regarding that topic. And I'm just slowly going over them and implementing / fixing those in order to have the OSI replacement a bit more user-friendly, I would say. Because I don't know if I should I go into more detail why this is a bit more complicated thing than it was before, or would you just like to read the document and ask more specific questions? I don't know.
Jean-Miguel, you've asked about OSD replacements in the past for Rook. Do you have any thoughts on this? You're mute.
Sorry, I was mute. No, I think that it's okay. What I was wondering is about the reuse of the OSD ID, okay? And this is something that is now taken into account, so it's okay for me.
Okay. Perfect. Josh, Seepage and CStart. So
Yeah, so I guess I
yes.
wanted to discuss this a little bit. The idea is that we want to make it as easy as possible to develop Ceph with Ceph ADM, and ideally have that kind of development environment working as quickly as possible without needing to copy so many files as you would if you're doing, say, a full make install or full package install. So there are a couple of approaches that I was experimenting with this weekend. Sage's original Seepage kind of takes a existing Ceph container image and then just copies the necessary binaries and libraries from your local build tree into that image. This is nice in that it's fully contained inside that container, so that you can copy it around and make further changes to your build tree without affecting the container. But it does take a bit of time to do that, since it's roughly 2 gigs to be copied each time. Another approach that I was looking at was trying to make the container more immutable and replacing all its files with symlinks to a volume that you mount in the container, which is your build tree. That has the advantage of needing no changes to the build image. You spin up a new container instantly, but it would require, I think, some changes to Ceph ADM to include that image in a development environment. And it does mean that the development environment is a little bit different from an end-user environment in that sense. So I wanted to get some feedback about these two approaches and about the second approach, if there are better ways to possibly run without root for Ceph ADM, or expose only what's not needed rather than using full privilege mode.
So regarding the unprivileged mode, right now we have a lot of hard-coded paths to system D to various paths in /user/var, for example. So in general, I think it's possible to do that, especially as Ceph as Podman provides a way to run containers as non-root. And as far as I know, also systemd provides a user instance where users can create the units for the user. As far as I know, I think it's possible. But what about hostnet?
We have lost you, Dustin. I think.
Your audio died. Wow.
Last thing I heard was, what about host network? This is probably where I exposed my ignorance of containers, and I'm not sure if this host network always require root, or is there some way to access the network beyond using privilege mode? Sebastian, do you know?
I don't think it's possible. I think it's kind of paired with -- privileged.
Okay.
But actually, I'm not sure. Might be because I don't recall us enabling privileges when we activate host networking with Rook. So it might not be needed actually. Yeah. No, I don't think it's needed actually.
Okay.
Yeah. What about host networking? That's possible without.
I was just saying he thought it might be possible without it, since he thinks Rook doesn't use privilege mode with it.
Yeah, the thing is that Kubernetes makes use of a software-defined network, and Ceph ADM does not spin up a software-defined network. So the only option for Ceph ADM is to use host networking, right?
Yes, I would think so. I don't see any other way. If you want to communicate between hosts, that's how you should be doing it. If there is nothing setting up the network for you, then yes, you have to use host networking.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not sure the requirements here, if that does require being root, or you can simply use like ports above 1024, etc., and avoid that, or where the requirement's coming from, really. But it sounds like there were other changes for Ceph ADM to run as non-root, like you mentioned, the paths.
Yeah. A lot of things would need to change in order to make it work for non-root.
Okay, well, maybe it's not worth focusing on that aspect so much in the short term.
On the other hand, I think it does make sense to really spin up a cluster and mount the development environment. I think that change is actually a bit less intrusive.
Yeah, I think it certainly makes it much easier to spin up that kind of environment.
We would just need to kind of make sure that Ceph ADM knows that it is in a development environment, and it should mount a specific path in addition.
Yeah, and for my testing, I just hard-coded it to always mount a specific path, but obviously you need some kind of flag or some kind of environment variable saying that you're in a development environment.
So maybe we can just make it in using environment variables. And then let CStart set those environment variables, and Ceph ADM just, if it encounters them, then mount the Ceph source tree and mount the Ccache.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I guess right now it also requires the privileged mode to be able to access my users, the local user's copy of their repo. Perhaps there's a more fine-grained way to do it, but that's just the way I got it working quickly.
Mm. And that's it. There are no other changes required when starting the containers except for the Zcash mount and the mount of $Ceph.
Not so far, at least. I haven't got everything fully working yet, so there may be more changes after that. But I think in theory that should be all that's needed. Since it's using exactly the same install locations as the regular packages. And it's based on the same Ceph container image.
Okay, as long as we are only talking about mounting additional volumes, I think we are really fine. That
Okay.
sounds really feasible.
Cool.
So do you want to continue working on that?
Yeah, a little bit at least. I don't have a ton of time to devote to it, but probably at least 1 day a week.
Okay. I think Mike Fritsch should be able to really get you up to speed when it comes to modifying Ceph ADM to set the path to the Ceph repository and Zcash.
Okay, cool. I guess there's some other generic questions about container environments that I'm curious if you guys know the answer to. With this kind of setup, I guess, well, maybe it's not so big a deal at this point if you only have one immutable image, but you can tend to run some kind of like pruning of old unneeded images periodically, or is that something that like a C-start should try to do itself?
Which might actually be needed in Ceph ADM anyway. Because if you just upgrade the cluster, then you will leave existing images behind, which is kind of a surprising fact. And pruning images, I think at some point it does make sense. Even for normal upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a tracker issue about that? I don't know. If not, then that's great one. Okay. I know that Tim Sarong is interested also in that C-start discussion.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to his feedback.
As he had a very similar problem, like how do you develop Ceph ADM while the manager is running as a container, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a better approach than copying 2 gigabytes of data every time you run or you want to modify your code.
Yeah.
Any other topics for today? I don't have anything else. 3, 2, 1. See you next week.
Thanks. See you.
Oh, wait.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Have a good week. Bye bye.